Y así esta manera no tengo la culpa. Amor del pasado.
Okay, find a partner that speaks your language.
본인이 이해하는
백킹 같은 거?
이렇게 있습니다. 이걸
감사합니다. 감사합니다. Okay, the second question. Listen. See, and this time, it's the last time that you really wanted something, and how your thinking got in the way of getting it.
이제
I know that the four, there's the four components, but I want to emphasize the thinking part.
생각해 보시고 만약에 최근에 뭔가 하고 싶었는데 내 머리에서 그거는 안 된다든지 그건 하지 말라든지 그렇게 해서 하고 싶은 거를 못한 경험이 있으시면은 그거에 대해서 파트너하고 또 토론을 하세요.
Okay, so and I'm sure in Australia as well, so that rather than play the music again to stop you, we just raise the hand, and that's a signal that, bring it to an end in a couple of more, maybe little words or two. Okay? Ready for the next question.
So, 이제 음악을 또 트는 대신에 요번에는 손을 드시겠대요. 그러면은 그게 이제 신호로 생각을 하세요.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. So here, we just talked about how our thinking got in the way. So how was that way, or the ways that you were thinking, how is it related to your values or your beliefs? I heard someone say, well, I talked myself out of it. I convinced myself I couldn't do it. I just had too much trouble. I just, so how does whatever you were saying, and saying to yourself, thinking, well, you were, of course, you have the physiology and your feelings, but how does it relate to the belief system that you have or your values? Okay, so music, move around, get a new partner, please.
요번에는 예를 들어 뭐를 하려고 했는데 이거를 못했잖아요. 근데 머리에서 하나 있는데 그게 여러분들이 생각하시는 고정관념이라든지 잘못되는 요번에는 파트너를 바꿔서 다른 하고 예를 들어 갖고 나 커피를 마시러 가고 싶다. 내 머리에서 아 엄마가 커하면 뭘 마셔 집에 가서 밥이나 하지. 만약에 이런 생각이 들었으면은 이게 우리가 갖고 있는 고정관념 때문에 우리가 하고 싶은 거를 방해를 하잖아요. 그러니까 그런 거를 경험을 하신 게 있으면은 파트너를 바꿔서 다른 분하고 이번에는 토론을 해보세요.
Okay, so let them just share, okay?
다른 분하고.
액션 하려고 했는데 정감 때문에
말씀하시는 거 잠깐 스톱하시고요. 말씀하시는 거 잠깐 스톱해주세요.
So, my last question is, what do you really want from this session, and how are you going to help contribute to its success?
이 여러분들이 오늘 배우고 싶은 거, 가장 배우고 싶은 거 이런 거는 내가 좀 꼭 배우고 갔으면 좋겠다 생각하시는 게 있으시면은 생각을 해보시고, 그리고 내가 그거를 위해서 뭐를 할 그 자신이 있는지, 나는 내가 그 배우고 싶은 걸 위해서 내가 할 수 있는 거는 뭔지에 대해서 한번 생각을 해보시라고. 그냥 앉아서 강의하면 좋겠다 이게 아니고 나는 그거에 스킬을 찾을
여기가 확정. 이전에 뭐 하셨다고요? 아니 시험을 하시다가 공부에 와서 지금 끊으셨는데
Alright, so now we can dance back to our
경험을
seat.
했습니다.
아, 춤을 추면서 제자리로 돌아가시래요.
Those are the gypsy kings. So do you have a spot? There's some places here.
앞에도 자리
Does
많으니까.
everybody have, because I have, that's the handout, so I have to run that off. Okay. I don't have one more, but we'll have to run one off, I guess. So if you take note of who needs one, okay? Sorry,
I guess your session is really popular.
well, I said that there's going to be nobody, so I can rest. Okay, so, you know, I'm not normally a gadget person. Of course, where's Judy? She knows that. It's just me, you know, and I get my paper up there and I'm writing and so on. But I kind of went all out, I think, this time. I mean, look at this. Hey, isn't that neat? So we talked about quantum. I laughed because when I tried to, you know, I figured in an hour it'd be plenty, and so they put me for 2 hours, and I was told, oh, they find it so hard to translate, like what's quantum in Korean, and I said it's energy. It's not hard, eh? It's easy. So what we're trying to do with the quantum. In other words, what I do when I work with a client or a patient is that I am using some of the principles of quantum physics. Now, did I take quantum physics in school? What do you think? No. Did I take higher mathematics? No. Okay. So it's not a question of, do you believe it or not believe it? We do know that there's communication, and I don't have to be in the same room to communicate with you through intention. So some of this is going to come out, but the main focus is to really do role play and have fun with role play and look at how we have freedom of choice and to what degree we have freedom of choice. So really that's what I really want to do. It's not to teach you a course in quantum physics, it's just that it's a different model. You go to, you're not going to translate all that right now.
Well, maybe part of it.
Okay.
Because I have a hard time understanding the nature of quantum myself.
Well, just say it's energy, and what we're trying to bring to medicine is to talk about the person and to rehumanize medicine. And not always be looking, you go to a doctor for the disease, and you've got the pill. So we're trying to, it's not that you can't go to a doctor if you have a heart problem, we're not saying that, but we're wanting to kind of collapse kind of a conflict between what we perceive today as the medical model and how we're trying to bring in other medicines, which are like, the Chinese medicine, you're very familiar with different products and so on. So we're trying to treat people in a different way.
그러니까 이분은 자기가 그런 화학이나 물리나 어려운 수학 이런 거 공부를 안 하셨어요. 그런 걸 안 하셔갖고 사람들이 이제 자기가 이런 걸 한다 그러시면은 굉장히 똑똑한 사람이라고 이렇게 생각하는데 그런 거에다 중점을 두시는 게 아니고 이분은 그 의학을 꼭 그런 의학 용어만 사용하는 게 아니고 우리가 그 자신을 치유할 수 있는 능력이 누구나 다 있기 때문에 그런 거를 통하지 않고 예를 들어서 한약이라든지 아니면은 다른 방법의 그런 걸 이용해갖고 우리가 우리 자신을 치유할 수 있는 거를 재미나게 그러니까 이론을 통한 게 아니고 경험을 통해서 그런 거를 여러분들하고 이렇게 나누고 싶다고 말씀을 하시네요. That's what you're trying to say, right?
That's exactly what I'm saying.
We're good partners.
So we're just going to explain again, as I've mentioned this already. So we're looking at the full potential of the individual. So it's not limited. So it's connected to what Glasser talked about. Do we have limiting beliefs? I'm not big enough, I'm not tall enough, I'm not fat enough, I'm not skinny enough, I'm not this enough. How we beat ourselves up. So we're really looking at a different way of looking at medicine and to look at a collegiality of doctors so that if there is something, you can be, the whole self is treated. It isn't just one organ. So, often I see clients and they have a disease and they've got, I don't know, when I did my dissertation, it was on Meniere's disease. And one of the gentlemen, 6 medications, had diabetes, you name it, and then of course he had to go to the dentist. Well, guess what? An infected tooth, another medication. So how can we look at the body, the whole body, if we're only looking at dis-ease and not trying to prevent, not trying to, a doctor told me years and years ago, and I was smoking because, I thought I was going to be a smart aleck, right? I never smoked till I met my husband and his gang smoked, so what did I do? Silly fool, eh? I had to smoke too. But why was I smoking? Now I know it was to feel a sense of belonging. And I felt kind of smart, I used to practice in front of the mirror. How do I hold the cigarette? Like it was vanity, without the fair. So why did we do things when we were so young? But one doctor said to me, he says, you get older, you can bet your life you're going to have some form of respiratory problem or emphysema. And I think I had a chat with someone in the breakfast room saying that, you know, I had asthma, but I decided I wasn't going to accept it. Well, I think it was with you, Vicki, wasn't it? We were chatting about it. So we want to look at a different way of how we see ourselves and our bodies.
그러니까 우리 보통 그런 의사들이 우리 몸에 병 같은 게 생기면은 뭐 간이 나쁘다든지 심장이 나쁘다든지 그래갖고 그것만 이렇게 뭐 어떻게 해서 치료를 하려고 그러는데 그렇게 생각하지 말고 우리 모든 인간들이 자기 몸을 치유할 수 있다는 걸 우선 그거를 받아들이고 그리고 몸의 한 부분만 치료하겠다 이렇게 생각하지 말고 몸 전체 그러니까 심장이 나쁘면은 그게 간하고 무슨 연관이 있는가 그리고 뭐 간이 나쁘면 그게 그러면 심장하고 무슨 연관이 있는가 그래갖고 몸 전체를 볼 수 있는 그런 눈을 가지자고 그러네요. 그리고 이분이 자기가 옛날에 결혼했을 때 남편이 담배를 폈대요. 그래갖고 자기가 남편을 따라서 담배를 피기 시작을 했는데 그게 지금 생각해 보니까 담배를 피고 싶은 것보다는 남편하고 뭔가 같이 공유하고 싶은 마음에서 자기가 담배를 피기 시작을 했는데 어떤 의사가 자기 보고 너 그렇게 담배 피다가는 이 다음에 나이 들어서 꼭 무슨 병이 생길 거다 그렇게 얘기를 했다고 그래요.
Isn't that great? So this is really the crux of the day's work, is that if we're going to look with the quantum, we're looking at choice theory and reality therapy. And what I want to include is to offer you know, CEOs or people in management positions biofeedback, and so that they can track and trace their level of stress. Because the biofeedback device I have, although it's so heavy, I just couldn't bring it with me, but you know, you're hooked up, you know, with little monitors like here, it's just like the little, you know, band, and the same here in the ankles, but it will measure. And it's the same thing when you go to a hospital. It's really what would you call a health, you know, it's a health device. It's a medical device that they would use in hospitals, but they do it differently because you get, you know, your EEG and ECG, you know, out in the little, you know, they read it. So it just reads the body. You cannot believe it. I have a friend who I had worked with her several years ago, and but again, it was just when I was learning. I didn't know as much, of course, and I talked about the bones, and I said, you know, you should take a look. I mean, I wasn't sure, because you just don't read, and we don't diagnose, but we will give information to the person. And it was only a few years later she said to me, you know, Jean, I'm just so amazed, because I didn't pay attention, and neither of us really paid as much attention that we should have. And sure enough, she has osteoporosis. So it's just that it lets you know, gives you that information so that you can take care and become, I like to say, I'm a co-conspirator with you in your healing process, because we're entangled. You know, last we talked about that relationship. Well, this is a very intricate relationship between the healer, because you're the healer. You know, it's not the doctor. So this is the kind of thing that we're trying to talk about. So here we have an awareness. To what level are you aware? And in the quantum field, they use the word consciousness, full consciousness with loving attention and intention.
우리가 그 몸에 어딘가에 이상이 생기면 우리가 의사한테 가서 내가 왜 이렇게 아프니까 이렇게 물어보면 의사들이 이제 진단하고 약을 주고 이렇게 하잖아요. 근데 의사한테만 맡기지 말고 우리가 우리 몸을 얼마나 더 이렇게 잘 의식하고 있는지에 대해서 생각을 하자고 그렇게 말씀을 하세요. 그러니까 의사를 믿지 말라는 얘기가 아니고 우리가 우리 몸을 더 잘 이해하면은 그만큼 우리가 예방을 하는데 많이 도움이 된다는 거죠. 그러니까 몸이 고장 났을 때 가서 치유하고 약 받고 그러기 전에 미리 우리가 우리 몸의 상태를 계속 생각을 하고 내가 옛날에는 이런 게 안 아팠는데 요새는 이런 게 조금 아프기 시작한다든지 이렇게 해서 그 과정을 더 자세하게 의식을 하고 있으면은 그만큼 몸이 빨리 치유가 된다는 거죠. 그러니까 이 사람은 그 몸을 고장난다고 솔고 외양간 고치는 식으로 생각을 하지 말고 그 전에 미리미리 방지하는 예방으로 그런 생각에서 차원에서 생각을 하자고 저는. 그리고 그 바이오 피드백이라는 그 기계는 이렇게 이제 가보면은 그 해보신 경험이 있는지는 모르겠지만 예를 들어서 무슨 그런 ADHD나 뭐 이런 애들 미국에서는 보면은 거기다가 이렇게 이제 이렇게 그걸 다 연결을 해갖고 그러면 그 브레인 액티비티라든지 무슨 몸의 스트레스 레벨이라든지 이런 거를 다 그 기계에서 읽어줘요. 그러니까 그게 꼭 아픈 사람만이 가는 게 아니고 미리미리 예방하는 차원에서 가다 보면은 그게 다 나오게 돼 있어요. 뭐 심장이 지금 스트레스를 많이 받는다든지 아니면 머리에 지금 스트레스 레벨이 굉장히 높다든지 그러면 그거를 우리가 우리 자신을 예방하는 데 많이 도움이 된다는 거죠. Are you a nurse, Jean?
No.
No, you're not.
No. It's a doctor of natural medicine, so we do not diagnose, you know, and what we try to do is to help people understand what's going on. We do a form of coaching. Well, I kind of do reality therapy. I almost failed my coaching course because I was doing reality therapy. I was so used to it. Because it's a little different, but I just find that reality therapy is so powerful and in helping people make evaluations about what they're doing. Now this part, you know, I think if you've seen the movie What the Bleep Do We Know or Down the Rabbit Hole, how many have seen that? Just a
Down the
few?
Rabbit Hole이라는 영화 보시는 분이
It's a wonderful DVD set, and you know, I would recommend you see it because, you know, when we observe something, it becomes the solidified form in this world. But normally, it's just waves of possibility. So I don't really want to dwell a lot on this because, you know, it becomes localized in time and space, but in the quantum world, there's really no time and space. So that if you are in Australia, I could do a biofeedback session with you according to a certain protocol if I'm licensed to do it. Because I don't have to be with Judy to do it. Because we have that entanglement. We are connected. We don't have to see one another. You know, we see it in other ways. We see the power of prayer. We see mental telepathy. I think many people accept that. So we're talking, you know, about things like that.
그리고 이분이 말씀하시는 게 이분은 우리가 어떤 때 보면 왜 누구를 이렇게 생각을 하는데 그 사람이 뭐 전화가 오거나 이런 거를 우리가 느끼잖아요. 그러니까 꼭 우리가 눈으로 보지 않아도 서로 떨어져 있어도 서로 에너지가 통하고 왜냐하면 모든 물체가 다 에너지잖아요. 그러니까 의자도 에너지고 사람도 에너지고 그렇기 때문에 우리가 떨어져 있어도 서로 마음이 통하기 때문에 그런 서로 통하는 마음을 우리가 더 의식하자는 거죠. 그렇게 해서 그렇게 되면 우리 몸도 다 에너지니까 몸 자체가 그러니까 더 우리도 치유를 할 수 있고 다른 사람들도 우리가 마음이나 기도로 치유를 해줄 수 있다는 거죠.
Yeah, I'm going to just, you know, this is just a few slides to show you about that conscious intention, the interconnectedness. And so these are Faraday cages, so they're impervious, you cannot communicate. However, when they, you know, wired up one person and they were flashing at that person, when they took the EEG of the other person, they had the same result. It was as low, and it did jump. So,
Were they in the same room?
doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. It can be next because of they are insulated so that there's just no way that there can be any communication whatsoever. I mean, I attended, this was the most unbelievable thing. How many people have heard of Lynn McTaggart here? Right? Lynn McTaggart? I was at a presentation of hers, and I was sitting next to a woman, and I didn't know her, we just had met. And it was just a form of meditation that Lynn McTaggart had asked us to do. And then I stood up with that woman and I took her hands and she said, you know, I had to have a thought. And so did she. So we started with her thought. And we closed our eyes and then we opened, and of course you want to give love. You know, love, what Rose said, you know, to give that universal love. And I could see a painting, someone in a brown robe. I saw a globe. I saw light coming in. It was very, very vivid. And she said to me, she said, you're describing my house. Oh, spooky. It isn't really, but it's just that, you know, how many times do you think of somebody and the phone rings or your email and you might say, oh my God, I'm just dreaming of you, I'm just thinking about you. So it's that kind of a thing. So I don't believe that we really explore what we're really capable of because of so many other reasons. So we want to talk about, you know, a higher self, I would say, where you truly have your personal freedom, where you get your ego out of the way so that you can truly be free and make choices. And I'd like to see this applied to medicine and to treatment, or we don't call it treating, we call it entrainment or a protocol to have us healthier.
이분이 어떤 그 컨퍼런스를 갔는데 거기에서 이제 서로 옆에 있는 사람이랑 이렇게 손을 잡고 그리고 명상에 들어갔대요. 그랬는데 그 명상을 하고 나서 이제 그 프레젠트 하시는 분이 그 사랑을 마음으로 품으라고 그렇게 말씀을 하셨대요. 그랬는데 사랑을 마음에 품고 그 사람 손을 잡았는데 그 손을 잡는 순간 이미지가 이렇게 마음에 들어오는데 무슨 이렇게 그림도 보이고 그리고 무슨 이렇게 갈색 빛깔 나는 그런 뭐 잠옷 같은 것도 보이고 여러 가지 이미지가 들어와서 이분이 내가 지금 이런 이미지가 보인다 이렇게 얘기를 했더니 그분이 그거 내 안방인데 그렇게 얘기를 하셨대요. 그러니까 이분이 말하는 거는 우리가 무슨 결정을 내리고 이럴 때 항상 머리 안에 우리가 그 어른으로 이렇게 살아가면서 이 세상에서 우리가 해야 될 일이라든지 하지 말아야 될 일이든지 항상 그런 게 우리 마음에 있잖아요. 뭐 이건 하면 안 된다, 저건 하면 안 된다. 난 지금 시간이 없어서 이거를 못 한다, 나중에 해야 된다. 항상 그런 걸로 많이 우리가 저지가 되는데 그런 거를 좀 어느 정도 좀 놔두고 그리고 우리가 모든 사람들이 우리 마음 안에 그런 더 높고 더 많은 걸 성취할 수 있는 그런 능력이 있는데 그 항상 제지하는 것 때문에 우리가 그거를 충분히 못한다는 거예요. 그러니까 그런 걸 좀 어느 정도 좀 내려놓으면은 우리가 더 많은 것을 아주 효과적으로 이렇게 성취를 할 수 있을 거다. 이렇게 말씀하세요.
Thank you. Do you have some questions? I know Judy is
무슨 질문 있으시면은
so far. Not yet. Anyone have questions yet?
Do you think maybe we could do some experiment of doing some meditation?
So see what's in each other's mind? Is that what you Well, we could if you wanted, but I had thought we would do some role play.
Oh, that'd be wonderful.
Would that be okay?
Yes, yes.
So, I mean, this again, we're talking about, these are certain principles, we're interconnected, and this has been proven. We're, you know, so we talk about the quantum leap. Deepak Chopra talked about the quantum leap, but I believe that with Dr. Glasser's, you know, total behavior, he's well ahead of his time, you know, so we have the genius of our thinking and our physiology. And I remember one time, and maybe Carlene, you can correct me, because you know our memories sometimes, you know, not quite the same with some age. But I remember Dr. Glasser talking about that if we continue to ignore the physiology and the feeling and so on, that I just like the car sort of becomes the total depression. Would that be right in saying it? In other words, we're feeling it, where the physiology is there, the thinking, the acting. So I always look at like the car as this dis-ease or out of balance is the way that I like to explain it. You know? Yeah, I think it's pretty accurate. Because I love to talk to him, and he would say, "It's okay, Jean, it won't hurt you." All of this knowledge. So I think we'll come down, we've mentioned this, and so you want to choose health through consciousness, which really means total awareness, and of course the effect of stress. And of course I put the poisons up there. What do you think? Which country has the highest cancer rate, do you think?
USA.
No.
Korea?
Believe it or not, it isn't. I think it's Denmark.
Oh, wow.
Because they, instead of eating the popcorn or stuff, apparently candy, sugar. Sugar is the worst. If you have inflammation, you know, and again, you know, Glasser was the genius who said, you know, we really get our love and belonging need often met, don't we? Because we can complain about our diseases, don't we? I had an aunt, you know, her name was Edna, Aunt Edna, and you'd hate to say how she was, because she'd tell you, you know? And she meant her love and belonging. She said, "Oh, Jeannie dear, come on in," and I got the litany, you know, of disease, and well, it wasn't really disease, but you know, she had ailments here and ailments there, and she had some kind of scoliosis of the spine, and she was taking this, and she'd bring out all of the medication. So, you know, it could be need satisfying, but it's not healthy. It's not the way we would like people to be able to meet the need for love and belonging. So, but this is really unbelievable. And which country has the lowest, do you think? Niger. No, because Niger, because they eat seeds, nuts, vegetables. You ever hear of that? Anybody? You ever hear of that? So, you know, I was surprised.
So Denmark has the highest?
Well, so the latest research that I just looked at, you can look it up yourself, and I think there's a difference between men and women. You know, they might say there's more men, and actually men in France have a high cancer rate. It's very interesting.
덴마크가 암 걸린 사람들이 제일 많고 나이지리아가 제일 낮대요.
Could be smoking and drinking. I mean, there's no doubt, you know. If we smoke and drink, we're going to pay the price. And then again, who's driving your car? You all know that. And that's just a little car that my husband helped me with. And of course, we want to move from dis-ease to ease. So we're looking at a balance of mind, body, and spirit. And so this is really what we're talking about. We want mindful energy that supports and protects us and heals us. So we need to reorganize our thinking to prepare. So we have our system always at work, the creative system, or the behavioral system, and creativity. So we need to take advantage and teach and know. It's easy to say we know, but do we really understand, and do we really make changes in our lives that are truly authentic changes to be the real person we truly want to be? Now, I play at it. You know, I've lost like 1,000 pounds in my lifetime, because I would lose and gain and lose and gain and lose and gain. Now, when I have a picture in my quality world, when I look at these delicious, like a bowl of potato chips, and I mean, I'm the only grandmother that fights with her grandson over who's going to finish the bowl of chips. You know, it's kind of embarrassing, isn't it? So, but if I look at it and I see salt, it's a cup of salt, I can leave them alone. Or it's sugar. You know, I say, oh my God, would I eat a cup of sugar? No. Would I eat a cup of salt? No. So again, it's not that, how did you put it, Carly? You know, it's fine to know it, but it doesn't mean we're going to do it or do anything about it. We have to make hard.
우리가 뭔가 우리가 지식이 있더라도 그거를 실천에 옮기는 게 더 중요하죠. 이분이 손자가 있는데 자기가 그 감자칩을 너무 좋아해갖고 손자하고 모이면은 자기가 아마 이 세상에 손자하고 감자칩 누가 더 많이 먹을까 싸우는 사람 자기밖에 없을 거예요. 그러니까 그런데 그걸 그냥 두면 그렇게 먹게 되는데 그거를 자기가 보고 아 이거는 설탕 덩어리다 아니면은 아 이거는 소금 덩어리다 그렇게 생각을 하면은 그게 자기가 그거를 그렇게 옛날처럼 많이 먹지 않는다는 거죠. 그러니까 우리가 뭐 예를 들어 당분을 많이 먹으면 건강이 안 좋다든지 뭐 스트레스를 많이 받으면 건강이 안 좋다든지 그런 우리가 지식은 다 있더라도 그거를 그럼 안 하기 위해서 어떤 거를 해야 되는지 그런 행동을 우리가 알면서도 실천에 못 옮기는 경우가 많이 있으니까 자기도 맨날 살 뺀다고 그러고 뺐다가 또 다시 쪘다가 뺐다가 다시 쪘다가 그러대요. 그러니까 그거를 행동에 옮기는 게 굉장히 중요하죠.
I'm not like your mom, Rose. We had supper one time and I said, Rose, how come I'm bump, bump, bump? And she says, push up. And so I said, well, how many did you do? And she used to get up and do, I don't know, like 100 push-ups. I would be dead after one, you know. So this is like the test now. You can just fill it. No, I'm only teasing. But it is kind of interesting. I use this in training to just say, let's fill it in. And so how did I decide to transform or change this to business, I guess? Well, it's just that if everything is potential, and we have the principles of quantum, which is non-local and discontinuous and entanglement, then I found this, examine, act, transform. And of course, we know by examining, we're talking about examining the quality world pictures. We ask about the person, get to know the person, clarify. So we just have, certain pictures I just put there because they're the very important things. And then the actions. And of course, we are finding out what needs to change and to help with evaluation to see how willing and to test and check on the belief system. The old saying is, my mother always, I said, why do you put your roast in this tin? Well, it ended up that they didn't have a big enough tin to put the roast, so they used to cut the ends off. So we often do things we don't know why we do them. Certainly school districts, school systems are like that often, right? They don't know why they did it. Well, everybody did it. Well, what do you mean? So how do we appropriate? How do we want to live our lives, and what are we prepared to do to make the changes?
그러니까 그냥 예를 들어갖고 무슨 행동을 할 때 그냥 그거를 이렇게 우리는 계속 해왔으니까 그냥 앞으로도 그냥 계속 한다 이렇게 생각하시지 말고 그거를 한번 질문을 하시래요. 그러니까 예를 들어갖고 자기 할머니가 그 터키를 이제 미국에서는 그 추수감사절 때 터키를 굽잖아요. 근데 자기 할머니는 항상 양쪽 끝을 자른대요. 그래서 자기도 그냥 따라서 양쪽 끝을 잘랐대요. 왜 그러는지는 모르고. 근데 한번 할머니한테 물어봤더니 할머니가 옛날에는 오븐이 작아갖고 그게 통째로 다 안 들어갈 때 양쪽을 잘랐대요. 그러니까 뭔가 학교에서도 그렇고 직장에서도 그렇고 그냥 상사가 이렇게 해라 그러면 우리는 그냥 이렇게 하라 했으니까 상사가 이렇게 하라 했으니까 무조건 따라가지 말고 왜 그렇게 하는지 그거를 물어볼 수 있는 용기를 가지시래요.
So I don't know if many of you know this. This is from 쟈켓디자인, Streamlining the Process, and it does talk about reality therapy and its relationship to choice theory. So we use this often in training so that people understand, certainly at the beginning, because you can start anywhere you want with reality therapy and counseling with choice theory. However, I like to ask people, do you know why you're asking that particular question? And I believe that this, and if any of you want this, I can email it to you. It's not difficult to do, and Lynn would be happy. So what I want to do now, because I didn't realize how much time it would take when we have the translation, is that I have prepared some card sets for you in groups of 4. I hope I have enough. but I'm not sure how the Koreans, I did give your sister a set of cards, but I don't know what she did with them. You have no idea. So I'm wondering if then we would organize, so those who only understand Korean, I can, I can just, you can ask them to each, to get into groups of 4, and you'll have to give them the client. Is that okay?
That's fine.
And so those who are, English or French, English? Just kidding. So if you can group into a group of 4, and I'll give you a set of cards. Now what the cards are, of course, is that there are 6 cards that have a client. Each client has some issues. And then there's a 7th card, which is a choice of different types of clients that perhaps didn't come up in the first. So you can shuffle them, and you know what, if you don't like the scenario, create your own, okay? So I'm gonna give Judy, I'm gonna give you one, and so if you can find 3 people, and say we'll finish in about 20 minutes to half hour.
So did you want them to divide into groups of 4?
Divide into groups of 4, but you'll have to,
walk around. 이렇게 4명씩 이렇게 팀을 짜세요.
We're going to end at 4, so it's going to be a quick, I just... So the 3 of you, you're going to do it in English? Yes. You don't know any other language? So, here, so you've got 2, Judy, who are you, 3? You got 5? Okay. Do you want to do 1, 2, 3?
Bring 2 lots of groups. Jean came, we could have 2. And Sharon could come in, we've got 3 lots of
Sharon, I'll give you a set so you can find someone. Got 2.
이게 4시라는 남자가 48살 먹은 남자는 어쩌면은 그 사람이 뭔가 안에서 일하는 데서 뭔가 잘못되는 게 나오기 시작하는 불안하는 그리고 의사가 그사람한테 당뇨라고 친구를 얘기를 했어요. 그리고 그래도 스트레스를 해결하고 조금 있다가 이제 카운슬러를 만나는 거예요. 네. 네.
아니라고 주식 투자 펀드를 되게 좋아하고 가족들하고 그래서 조금 일찍 카운슬러를 한 사람은 내담자고 한 사람은 우리한테 카운슬러로 상담을 경청하시는 제나는 19살에 매니저
最近楽しいことって楽しい
There is it's just for you. I think it's the second to last page. It's a little self-evaluation for yourself. So you can do that whenever you want. Kind of a little self-reflection. And then of course, some of my books.
저기 프린트아웃 해주신 거 뒤쪽에 보면은 go back to the previous page. 거기에 이 Personal Self-Evaluation for You라는 페이지가 있거든요. 그러니까 이걸 보고 자기 자신을 한번 돌아보는
You don't have to do it now. This is your own personal little questionnaire to ask yourself, you know, just where you think you are. It's just a little questionnaire on a continuum to self-evaluate.
집에 가서 하셔도 됩니다.
If you want to use it for clients, you may. Is that what you're saying?
그리고 상담할 때
I mean,
쓰셔도
I thought they were fairly good, you know. How would I rate my stress level? What is my stress costing me in terms of energy? How important is being healthy? So, sure, you can use it. I mean, I just made them up.
But they're good when you think about it.
But they're good, and you know, you can use anything I give you. I'm not, you know, I'm not gonna, I don't know, go to the lawyer or something. You know, it's not the way I operate. So, and if I can ever help, and you say, Jean, what about this? Do you have more information? Just email me, and I'm very happy to do it. So, you know, it's just a pleasure to be here. This is my third visit to Seoul.
한국에 세 번째 오신 거예요.
So, and it's funny when I hear you with your translation, because when I first, you know, arrived and I worked with Rose in Jakim, and so I would say something, and then she would translate, and then at the end, and she would go, and I thought, oh my goodness, I think she was giving them, you know, because they didn't answer the way she wanted them to answer. So I used to laugh because it took longer, but she had this, like, what, she was giving them, hey. So, because they weren't doing what she wanted, it was so funny. It was just different for me.
그리고 질문 사항이 있거나 아니면은 더 뭐 배우고 싶은 그런 거가 있으면 언제든지 이분한테 이메일을 보내시면은 답을 해주시면 돼요.
So I'm going to play one of my favorite songs for us to exit. But would you just put the cards on the collector?
이분 자기가 제일 좋아하는 음악을 틀어주실 테니까 한번 불러보죠.